I think this is what they call in the biz, sarcastically of course, a slow news day. Let's get into it. So Detroit Grand Prix officials confirmed, not really surprisingly, that they will move the Detroit Grand Prix from Belle Isle to the downtown city streets in 2023. Now, importantly, the quote-unquote oval layout has been changed, not super significantly, but it's been changed enough that it is now apparently much more technical. And by much more technical, I mean it has 3 extra corners. Make of that what you will. Sports cars. Yes, I do actually still talk about sports cars. 43 cars are entered for the IMSA season finale at Petit Le Mans, which will be run next Saturday. By far, the most interesting entry is a second WeatherTech Racing GTLM Porsche to give the fan favorite class a 6-car send-off. That means 2 cars from Porsche, 2 cars from Corvette, and 2 cars from BMW. The driving lineup has yet to be named for the number 97 Porsche. Speaking of sports cars, according to Sports Car 365, Dragon Speed is looking to enter their old BR1 LMP1 car in the World Endurance Championship next year as a stopgap to either move to the LMDH platform in sports cars or, and this is important for us IndyCar fans, they might be going back to IndyCar as early as 2023. Alpine is currently the only team slated to continue to use an LMP1 car in 2022. They currently use a former Rebellion Oreca. Chip Ganassi confirmed today that his team will indeed enter a 5th car at the Indianapolis 500. Now, that's not exactly a surprise, but it's always nice to get an official confirmation. Of course, the driver will be Jimmie the Juggernaut Johnson, and it's really kind of hard to believe, despite all the speculation and all of the backpedaling that Jimmie made about oval track racing in IndyCar, that this has actually happened. It's actually been confirmed, and we can lock in yet another entry for the 106th running of the Indianapolis 500. In other unsurprising news, Devlin G. Francesco was officially confirmed at the number 29 Andretti Steinbrenner racing car for the 2022 IndyCar season. Now, we've known about this for pretty much ever. It was a badly kept secret. But hey, you know what was a secret? Iron Mike Tyson fully embraced that move and endorsed it. So that's something. I wonder if we'll see Iron Mike at any of the races next year, and I wonder if I could get an interview with him. We're going to have to see how that goes. But perhaps the most interesting was that in the press conference announcing DeFrancesco to the team, Michael Andretti finally spoke publicly about his failed attempt to buy Alfa Romeo Sauber and their Formula One team, confirming for the first time not only his intentions to buy the team, but that he planned to bring Colton Herta with him to Formula One. He also confirmed that the sale falling through means that Kyle Kirkwood will not drive for Andretti Autosport in 2022. He was supposed to take over the number 26 car from Colton Herta when Herta moved to Formula One. But what was most interesting was that Andretti debunked rumors that the sale fell through due to a lack of money, and this is the quote. It had nothing to do with financials or anything like that. It was more having to do with controlling the team. And unfortunately, at the 11th hour, control issues changed, and it was a deal that we had to step away from because we couldn't accept it. I've always said that we're only going to do it if it's right for us, and in the end, it wasn't right for us. So there's a lot to chew on and a lot to break down about the failure of Andretti Autosport, at least for now, to break into Formula One. Now, another couple of nuggets from that press conference was, number one, Michael Andretti has not given up on the dream and will continue to pursue a Formula One team. Now, exactly how they are going to do that is very interesting. I wonder if they will pay the $250 million franchise fee and start from scratch building their own car and putting together their own personnel. I wouldn't count that out, considering that Sauber wanted $600 million and then didn't want to give Michael Andretti control of the team. I also kind of wonder, and I guess we'll see once Sauber signs their driver for 2022, their second driver, that is how much of that control issue was not wanting Colton Herta to drive the car. I wonder if there's a chosen driver that perhaps Sauber wanted to put in there, or the people who own Sauber now wanted to put in, and didn't ultimately, or wouldn't have been able to do that if they gave Michael Andretti control of the team. And also, one of the things that I found most interesting, it's one of the things I talked about, is that Michael Andretti specifically confirmed that Liberty Media, while they were obviously aware of the process, did not go, above and beyond to put this deal together. And missed opportunity, Formula One. Big L. Just a swing and a miss as far as I am concerned. Because, again, Miami GP, and maybe they're just, their head is swollen to gigantic sizes with the sellout in Circuit of the Americas and the fact that they sold Miami out and they were charging $1,000 for a ticket. But to sustain the American audience, you are going to need eventually a competitive American presence. Yes, we're going to, people are going to say until the end of time that Haas is an American representative in Formula One, and that's true, but they are just simply not a competitive team, and they're funded by the Russians, and they've got a German driver, lead driver. So, it's hard to call them an American team, in the sense of getting anyone interested in Formula One outside of those of us who already are interested. And if you're looking at Liberty Media trying to generate interest, sustained interest in Formula One, you need a driver who appeals to the American audience. And, obviously Colton Herta was already an established name here in the United States. But now we get to talk IndyCar, because the ramifications of this lead to some interesting conclusions. Number one, as I've been saying and telling you guys, Honda is out of engines. I don't know how many more times I have to reiterate this, but this is as good a confirmation as you're ever going to get, because Andretti Autosport is one of the golden children on the Andretti, or on the Honda side of things. They tend to get what they want. If they could have swung away to keep Kyle Kirkwood, they would have. Trust me on this one. There were no engines available. Honda has 18 motors. They're all spoken for, and that's it. That's just the end of story. And, Michael made a bold risk with Kirkwood, because he could have had his cake and ate it too. If he gets the Formula One team, he gets to take his golden driver, Colton Herta, to F1, and then you get a driver who many people within the paddock believe is at least the equivalent, talent-wise, of Colton Herta in Kyle Kirkwood. But you look at Kirkwood's junior Formula success, he's won virtually every championship he's ever entered. So from that perspective, the fact that Andretti is letting this prospect go, at least for 1 year, I think he's going to regret it. I mean, I think you look at Pato O'Ward as another great example. And, I know that I think Marshall Pruitt said on his podcast recently that he believes that the Arrow McLaren-Kirkwood partnership has fallen through. I'm not right now prepared to confirm that. I do believe that Kirkwood's going to be at Arrow at some point next year, and I think the fact that Nico Hülkenberg recently said he's not going to run an IndyCar next year too may be a bit of a clue as to what they're going to do with their third car next year. But you look at Pato O'Ward and whatever ends up being with Kyle Kirkwood. But if Kirkwood goes to, say, Arrow McLaren SP, and he starts kicking as much ass as Pato has done, Michael Andretti is going to be sitting there and going, we had both of these drivers. We could have gotten them under contract, and we didn't. And, you're reaping what you sow. Andretti Autosport is doing such a good job at fostering young talent, particularly in the Indy Lights series. And they just seem to be failing a little bit getting them up to the top step and into their program. Now, of course, Devlin DeFrancesco is a driver coming from Indy Lights, from the Andretti Autosport program, and he's a driver that Andretti identified early on as a driver they wanted to bring into IndyCar. And there are some people who are pointing at Devlin, and I remember this happened too, by the way, with Herta and O'Ward, is that people looked at O'Ward and said, oh my God, why did you sign Herta over O'Ward? Ultimately, some of these decisions are made well in advance, and once you've got contracts signed, you can't really do anything about it. And I don't think... Don't vilify Devlin because Devlin put his deal together. This to me is Andretti failing to secure Kirkwood, less so than Devlin being a smart businessman, a smart race car driver, having good management, being able to get into that seat. And I don't think that Kirkwood, and I think Kirkwood's definitely getting the short end of the stick here. There's no doubt about it. But I also feel like, very much like Pato, he will land on his feet. He is too talented to be on the sidelines. He is too talented not to have a ride in IndyCar for next year. It will be a disaster and a shock if he doesn't. I don't believe that's going to happen. Again, we'll have to wait and see. I think he's going to be in McLaren Orange next year because really, in terms of quality rides, the third Aero car is like the last one left. Unless Roger Penske wanted to take the initiative and like run a partial season with the 22 Penske car. And that would just be like a lifeline to Indy Lights, the series that he just retook control over, to make sure that the Indy Lights champion isn't sitting on the sideline, because all of a sudden you're looking at possibly 18 to 20 cars in Indy Lights for next year, as many as that anyway. Indy Lights could be having the same boom as IndyCar, but if the champion all of a sudden doesn't look like because Kyle Kirkwood could be, or is one of like the shining examples of what Road to Indy is designed to do. An American driver, homegrown talent, came up through the ranks, won, did everything he needed to do to IndyCar, and if he doesn't get to IndyCar, that casts a gigantic shadow over the road to Indy. So I think, it's in the series' best interest to get him in a car, and I would assume that Roger will, if not help get it done, will make sure that the worst case scenario, which would be Kirkwood not getting a seat, doesn't happen. But again, I think he's going to Aero McLaren, so we'll just have to wait and see on that one. But, yeah, exciting day, eh? Go Colts. If they don't beat the Jets, I'm going to throw the hat again. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube. Subscribe for more motorsport content, and I will see you in the next video.